everyone. My name is Jean-François Geffrier. I'm the moderator from Radio Plastique. Can we manage digital? So we have half an hour of discussions between Elisabeth Moreno and Jacques Attali. The answer is obvious to all of you because you know SSF Connect. So if you follow us on the apps, you certainly are IT geeks. And you can follow us with REAIX on the social networks. We'll try to have a framework for this discussion because we don't always manage digital technologies. We are more and more in a digitalized world, and we wonder that if artificial intelligence, we will reinforce this or not. You are a corporate manager. You are the manager of a company. You were a former French minister, and you were also at the top executive management of Orange and another company. Jacques Attali, you're chief executive officer. You were a consultant of François Mitterrand. You are in Paix contre la faim, Eureka, the EBRD, and Objective Planet. You have 3 minutes to speak up. Have you personally the feeling that do you have the feeling that you actually master and have digital technologies under control? And Mrs. Minister, you have the floor first. It's far from being obvious, isn't it? First of all, hello everyone. I think it would be pretentious to say that we master digital technologies. We could spend as many years on that field. It goes so fast. It changes every day. So we should eat a humble pie here, and we should know that we do not master everything when it comes to digital. But I would like to talk about something. This morning I took the 6-hour train to come here. At that time of the day, everybody is a bit tired, and I was close to a dad. I was sitting next to a dad. He was with his child, who was 2.5 years old. All the adults slept, dozed off, and you can see there were also children, and it was babysitted for 3 hours by cartoons on the internet. Obviously, there's no judgment in what I'm saying myself. As a mother, I let my daughter drag too much time on her PC or her iPad. Why I'm telling you this? This is a reality that is quite concerning. And there was an Ipsos survey from 2022 saying that 43% of children between 0 and 2 years old used internet for entertainment purposes, 43%. And so that gives you an idea of the importance of having digital under control, because it has infiltrated all the spaces of our life. It can actually track us as a human being, the relationship we have with our own image. It transforms our relationship with education, but also the corporate world, the way we find information, we inform ourselves. And if we do not control it, then we could think, what kind of future are we going to have? There's not a day where we don't have a press article talking about the anxiety, the concerns we might have about the development of digital, because nobody wants to see their bank account disseminated to everyone. You remember the health disclosures that were disseminated, or we can have any clips, any videos. You can have porn, shame videos that are disseminated everywhere. Revenge porn videos that are disseminated everywhere. But we have to think that digital can also be a tool for progress, and we have to solve a large number of challenges that we have to face on a daily basis. May they be climate change-driven or societal change-driven. We've never seen and never gone through such a fertile era, and this helps us to solve a lot of the problems of our society. How can we master the digital world? We are in a region of the world, luckily, where there's rule of law, and the regulation is very significant. So we can wonder as well, how can we regulate when The countries that are leaders and forefront runners in that field, like the US and China, do not always have the same interests or the same values as us. However, in Europe, we have GDPR. We worked on the Digital Service Act, and this is progress in terms of law and rights, and that helps us to master and have digital technologies under control. I was talking about it with this when I talked about this anecdote with this young child. At the earliest age, may it be a girl or a boy, if we do not teach our youth, but also those that are less young, what this digital world is all about, we will not make it, because it's easy to say, but if we don't know what blockchain is all about, what is quantic computers, what a chat GPT is, or artificial intelligence, then we won't make it. So I'm really utterly convinced that the digital tool is a tool made by human beings for human beings, and we need to have the opportunity to master it, to make it a more equitable world, and actually a world that is where there's less anxiety and concerns. Jacques Attali, I haven't said everything when I introduced you because I didn't want to impress our attendants here, but you've also published a lot of books. The World Guide for Use, and you will actually sign autographs at the FNAC just nearby after this session. The Economy of Life, published by Pluriel. And that's interesting because for you, digital world is actually a tool that can help both for life but also for death, right? Any technology may be used for the best and the worst. Technologies are just a hammer you can build, but you can also kill someone with it. Secondly, the digital technology started 4 centuries ago with Pascal. And as for the computers, it's only 70 to 80 years that it has been in existence, so it's not brand new. If we were to look into new technologies, those that we need to master before everything is too late, we have to look into genetics, and I will go back to it, and especially the articulation between artificial intelligence and biogenetics, which is a danger, a real danger that is threatening and looming upon us. So this development is changing a lot of things, and like other technologies, without any control, in a very surprising way, like print industry, because at the end of 15th industry, it has changed a lot of things in a surprising way. It was against all expectations. And now it is speeding up and transforming the relationships between human beings, and it is also inducing a concentration of power and money in the happy few's hands. But also it increases loneliness because we're all closed up in a bubble. And if we let it go the way it goes right now, we will have a society of lonelier individuals closed up in their bubbles with a financial power that is more and more focused between the hands of those that have the knowledge of all the data produced by these individual bubbles. These bubbles will be a source of wealth for those that will be in control of these bubble statistics. And that's the world as it is shaping up in the years to come, may it be in the US, in China, in Europe. For the individual, what does it mean? Well, it reinforces the narcissism, the individualism, and drugs as well, because digital becomes an addiction. The figures that you gave are even more aggravated by the fact that in some countries we spend more time in front of a digital tool than at school, and even more time than with their own parents. So there's a change in the shape of work, of leisure. We are becoming more and more narcissistic, and there's a huge political private machine using all this. That's one trend. A second trend that we need to control is whether to know what is the use of digital. Is it used for oil companies to find oil easier? Then it's a disaster. It's if the use is to find textile products that we will sell for €1 with technologies that will help us to trigger more attractiveness, then it's a disaster. If it's used to create artificial food, then that's deaf economy. But if it helps health, renewable energy development, culture, democracy, and diversity of media, then that's a good thing. So we need to know if it's useful for the economy of life or the economy of death. And if there's a third dimension, which is maybe the most dangerous one, this is when artificial intelligence is extended to the largest echelon, and it is combined with genetics. What does it mean? We're reaching a point where we can create new molecules with robots that create these new molecules from data. Artificial intelligence helps to find the new molecules that will be used depending upon some criteria. And this is how we manage to have these new latest developments. The day where the artificial intelligence won't have any human control and will be combined with a robot that will create molecules or internal internal manipulation, then we will be beyond any control. We won't master anything anymore. We'll be powerless. For some months, you've been talking about artificial intelligence as a new branch, a new reality of digital for the years to come. According to you, Elisabeth Moreno, you have a double hat. You were the Minister of Equality of Chances, but also the leader of IT and digital companies on the African continent. How do you foresee the digital world development? How will it create more gaps and more divides within the society? Well, Mr. Telly is talking about the digital world as a hammer, but it just amplifies all the best and all the worst in the human being. Therefore, all the inequalities that exist today can be demultiplied if we do not pay attention. For instance, I read Mr. Attali's book. We didn't talk about economy of death, but it was not far from that. We can say that digital technology can be the digital of life or death because it kills today. Everything that is cyber harassment today, we've never had so many suicides from young teenagers today. And those that are from my generation, when we were bullied at school, then it would finish and end at the doors of the school. But now we're being harassed during school holidays, at home, at night, during the weekend, so it can kill. And the digital can also exacerbate inequalities that are already in existence. You probably know today that only 27% of women are in the digital world, only 10% when we talk about cybersecurity. All the professions that are going to be created tomorrow will have a digital component. Whatever profession, the most noble one, the less visible. For instance, a cleaning lady will have to use an iPad to know which product they need to order, and so on and so forth. So bearing in mind that all the trades all the occupations that will exist will have a digital component, if only 27% of women are working in this sector and only 12% go to higher education streams regarding digital, what will happen for women for tomorrow's labor market? And when I led Hewlett-Packard Africa, I was fascinated because the demography today is such that no state is capable of creating enough schools and hiring enough teachers to teach. So you can draw the best from the digital world because we can be in Aix-en-Provence and attend conferences in Boston, in Singapore, or in Rio. And so digital can be used to include, but I don't know if you know it, but Facebook was recently reprimanded because when they were landline pilot announcements for jobs, they were sent in a majority to men and not to women. So if that happens for jobs, then it can also happen for more serious concerns and for R&D in tomorrow's world. In Africa, I always thought that this fourth industrial revolution was the most popular one that we have all known. We're not all able to buy a train or a car, but we all have a smartphone wherever we are in this world. But when we don't have access to the network, when we don't have access to infrastructures, to research, or to information or education, how can this continent develop? When we have extraordinary talents on this continent and we have creations and inventions that are incredible. And I'll wrap up with this. The mobile money was born on the African country. Why? Because there was no legacy, the banking legacy. Not everyone has a bank account, and it could not be Crédit Agricole or BNP that could invent this, because for them it's just a way to adversely affect their own P&L. So the digital will divide gaps more and more, and this is why we need to be more inclusive thanks to the digital. So artificial intelligence can actually demultiply possibilities. With ChatGPT, we can talk to them, for instance. But to exploit the potential fully, we have to be specialists with prompts. Prompts are directives that are well expressed to obtain the results. So we need to have a very high education to be able to have the right instructions. Obviously, we need to, the software development will be essential and will make it possible. We'll need to make it as transparent as possible. It is clear also that artificial intelligence allows us to raise questions that was only reserved to specialists, and to make the work that was normally allocated to consultancy firms. We have to know what are the best practices, what could be done elsewhere. That will be a significant change. In terms of education, as you said, it will be crucial, because as you said, in Africa, education does not exist anymore. We do not have teachers that are properly trained, and the digital world will be the only one that will enable to avoid problems in Africa. We need to earmark more means for education via digital, and we need to allocate more means to health as well. In education, we have school manuals. In Sweden, we withdraw them, don't we? No, we can't say that. It is used not in an excessive way. It's not fully digital, but it is in the form of projects. And in Finland, in Norway, we understood that what was important was to have a project-driven approach as a driver for education. In Latin America, in India, in China, the e-health, the e-probing, for instance, namely we circumvent the traditional methods, like for landline. This is what we did in Africa with landline. The outcome is very significant. There's a change that's very interesting. For instance, now with a mobile phone, very simple one, you can calculate without learning how to count. You can read without learning how to read, because the machine reads for you, and you don't need to write. You don't need to have learned any languages, because the machine can translate for you. And we have a new smartphone model that was invented by a company from the Côte d'Ivoire and Togo, and that contains all these innovations. And the change that it brings about is incredible. We don't need to know how to read. We don't know how to know how to count, to speak foreign languages. And that will actually trigger a lot of problems at the brain level, because it won't be used as much as before. And we won't need to know foreign languages, because we need just to put the smartphone, and the smartphone will speak in your stead. And so we will be closed up in our culture at the detriment of Western cultures. So the natural trend, it will be to lock us up to close us up and not to open up to the others, and will become more and more individualist. And it won't be, it will be at the detriment of a common project, of shared values. And that's the problem with technologies. We reinforce, we speed up the epi-natural trends. And there's something else as well we didn't talk about, and it will be the subject matter of another roundtable. The digital world participates also in the short-term priority. We take decisions straight away. We want satisfaction and pleasure straight away. When we want something, we want to have it right now. And when we have service and poor service, we have the answer straight away. And we don't have a motivation to have long-term views, to think, to read, and that requires to log off from the digital world. And this is more and more difficult. So the long-term priority, which is so essential, no society can be built without a long-term vision, and it will be adversely affected by the digital world. Thank you. I would like to add something to this. We'll try to have some room for a Q&A session. Yes, but very quickly. I would like to add, my fear is that the electronic world of today will be yesterday's illiteracy. It's not because you have a computer or an iPad that you know what the digital world is all about. Not only you don't know the dangers that surround it, but if you are a 70-year-old person and you need to fill your tax disclosure form or have a birth certificate, it will be asked from you to surf on the internet, and you don't know how to manage this, then we'll be far from society's inclusion, and then we'll have dishumanization. I would have liked to have an enhanced world, because this is what happens with the artificial intelligence. I had a company which created its own ChatGPT CA, and that saves a lot of time for the consultants, because instead of looking into 800 documents and have we talked about that and that type of case law, we know already everything at once. But today, can we consider that everyone has the necessary means to exploit the best of the digital world? Well, the answer is no, and we are creating a world where only the happy few will benefit from it. And these happy few will have a better culture, better health, and access to everything. And some others will be underprivileged and will be excluded from everything. Jacques Attali and Mrs. Moreno are waiting for your questions now. Yes. You seem to have the same analysis, so it's not really a controversy. It's not a problem, actually, on the contrary, but technological progress has pros and cons. It can be the best and the worst. But isn't there an emergency to regulate it? And the question is, how should we do it? You don't have a lot of time left. Yes, you're right. Everything goes via regulation. It will be more and more necessary and more difficult. We know what we should do for artificial intelligence. There's a charter that was written down, drafted by UNESCO, by the OECD, by the European Union. There's a wonderful charter that was drafted by the Japanese government. We do know what we have to do, and we have known for quite some time. A lot of charters have been drafted. There was this Isaac Asimov also who drafted a charter as well. We know what to do, but we won't do it, obviously. I would like to add as a follow-up, and unfortunately I agree with him. We have all the necessary means to regulate, but we need to have a lot of political courage. And today it's not simple. We've seen a lot of laws that try to emerge, and unfortunately they were killed straight away. And a lot of politicians are using this momentum. There's the law against the protection. There's a data privacy protection law. But we are in a society of production and consumption, and those who have the economic power try to kill these regulations. And I will wrap up with this last point. Business leaders, those who create platforms, if they do not take into account their own responsibility and are not made accountable, then we will be in a dead end. Thank you, Elisabeth Moreno and Jacques Attali. I would like to recall the title of your book. It's published with Flammarion. You have an autograph session at the FNAC, and we'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. Can we think long term? We also have a youth focus.